All right, let's get right into it. The Assassin's Creed collaboration is here, and it brought us Kassandra, who is literally the very first champion of the brand new Argonauts faction. But instead of just a ton of hype, her arrival has kicked off this huge debate. Is she this amazing new warrior, or is she a deeply flawed champion that's just not worth your resources? That's exactly what we're going to figure out. And yeah, this debate is not a quiet one. This quote right here from some of the very first tests on the test server pretty much set the tone for how the community was feeling. I mean, that is a harsh verdict, right? It immediately makes you wonder, could a champion from a collaboration this big really be that bad? Well, to answer that, the testers jumped right in and started running the numbers. And the initial results were, well, let's just say they were pretty underwhelming. The first thing anybody wants to know about a new attack champ is super simple. How hard does she hit? And when you put her up against some of the old favorites, the numbers just weren't adding up. Just take a look at this. In a pretty standard Demon Lord team, Kassandra managed to pull 130 million damage. Now, that sounds like a big number, I get it, but look at the comparison. Xenomorph, another free collab champion, hit 200 million, and then there's Ninja, a whopping 369 million. That is nearly 3 times what Kassandra was putting out. Oof. And this wasn't just a one-off, The pattern kept showing up everywhere. When they tested her against a boss like the Chimera, the gap was even crazier. We're talking 11 million from Kassandra versus 43 million from Ninja. So the data was pretty clear. On a pure damage for damage basis, she was seriously falling short. But why? So it turns out the problem isn't just about her base stats. It's actually baked right into her design. When you look really closely at her skills, you start to see something weird. A champion whose own abilities are kind of fighting against each other. It's a classic case of what we call counter synergy. Okay, so check this out. This is the real head-scratcher in her kit. Her main attack, her A1, is designed to be this total showstopper. It doubles its hits and power when she's below 50% health. That's her big damage mode. But her passive makes her insanely tanky against bosses, and her A3 is a gigantic self-heal. So what you end up with is a champion you want to get hurt, who is designed from the ground up to not get hurt. See the problem? And on top of that main issue, testers found all these other little quirks. Her big A3 buff, well, it doesn't come with an attack, so she basically wastes a turn just to set up. She's so fast that she can literally outrun her own buffs before they can help her. She needs a veil to make her debuff stick, but guess what? She can't apply it to herself. It all just adds up to a kit that feels super awkward to use. So the case against her seems pretty strong, right? Underwhelming damage, a clunky kit. This should be an easy skip, yeah? Well, not so fast. This is where the whole conversation pivots away from her immediate power and into her long-term strategic value. And honestly, it's an argument you really can't ignore. You see, Kassandra isn't just another champion to throw on the pile. She is the beginning of an entire faction, the Argonauts. And right now, as of this moment, she is the only champion in this faction. For anybody who's serious about progression in this game, well, this is a huge, huge deal. Why does this matter so much? Well, let's look at history. When the Sylvan Watchers were introduced, it took about 9 months for their faction crypt to actually open up. If that timeline holds true again, then you basically have a deadline to get ready for that new content. And being ready means you have to start building your collection now. And here is the absolute kicker. She is a limited time champion. Once this event is done, she is gone. Forever. So the question suddenly becomes less about how good is she today, and a lot more about, can you really afford to have a complete blank slate in a brand new faction for who knows how long? Okay, so what we've got is a champion who is strategically essential but mechanically flawed. That brings us to the really practical question. Once you get her, where does she actually work well? Thankfully, after a ton of testing, it looks like there are 2 very different paths you can take. So it seems there are 2 versions of Kassandra, and they lead to totally different results. If you build her for sustain, trying to make her a solo champion, she just doesn't have the power to clear waves and really struggles. But if you forget about soloing and just build her as a pure glass cannon for damage, her numbers suddenly get really, really competitive in the right places. The conclusion is clear. She's not a solo carry. She is a single target specialist. And when you use her as a specialist, she has some very clear sweet spots. For Faction Wars, that's a no-brainer. She's an instant MVP by default. She's actually a really strong solo option for the Iron Twins. In Hydra, all that single target damage makes her a top-tier choice.
And even in the arena, she can be a surprisingly good nuker who can survive a hitback because of her A3.
So, we've looked at the bad, we've looked at the good, and we've looked at the strategic importance. It's time to bring it all together and finally answer the one question that really matters. Should you actually go for this fusion?
The answer, honestly, really depends on you. For you new and mid-game players, I'd say it's a clear yes. You absolutely need a champion for this new faction, and she is a fantastic place to start. For you endgame players and collectors, same story. You just don't miss a limited-time champion. You future-proof your account. The only group that should maybe hesitate are those of you who are critically low on resources. If fusing her means you can't build a better champion you already have, well, then you've got a tough choice to make.
When you strip everything else away, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. Her kit might be flawed, yeah, and her damage might not break any records right out of the box, but at the end of the day, having the only champion for a new faction is infinitely better than having zero.
So as you look at all the fusion events, that's the real question you gotta ask yourself. Is future-proofing your account with a champion who is solid, but maybe not spectacular, the right move for you and your account right now? The choice, my friend, is yours.